So hello and welcome to Sacrea Cooking, where you learn to cook with creativity and confidence. So today we will make bread. In particular, spelt sourdough. This is my recipe that I'm using right now. I make bread every week. It keeps changing. This is the one that works for me really well right now. It has a super crunchy outside, it's soft inside, has an amazing taste. It's fermented overnight, so long fermentation means it's healthier for you, it's easier for you to digest the grains. Spelt anyways is much healthier than wheat because it has less gluten and a different type of gluten. I will go into this when I talk about the bread, and yeah, it's just delicious. It's not that much work. You just need to be at home for some time of the day, and yeah, I definitely recommend it. And this is the first video of a part of a bread series, or Spelt Sourdough Bread series that I want to make. So I hope you like it, and if you want to see more bread, you will see it in the following weeks, and you can subscribe. And it's 100% spelt. I use half white spelt flour and also half whole grain to make it more healthy and to add more textural variety and more flavor as well. If I would make it 100% whole spelt, I did it before, it's still very nice, it has a lot of flavor, but it doesn't rise the way I like it. If it's only white spelt, it has less of a taste. So for me, the 50-50 works really great. I tried a lot of different percentages. And yeah, generally if you make sourdough, it's a lot of experimenting. But I want to show you which one works for me really well and what I have learned in the last 7+ months of making sourdough. So enjoy! And now I will start in weighing my ingredients. I would say that weighing with a scale is really better than using cup measurement, especially when it comes to flour, so I definitely recommend. And here I'm using white spelt, and then I mix it 50-50 with whole grain. And here I'm calculating because I use 75% water, meaning 75% of the amount of flour, which turns out to 450 grams or 450 milliliter of water. For me, it's the perfect amount at the moment. I used up to 85-90% before. It turns out really wet, but it still makes a very nice dough. And lower, it makes it more dry, not the end result, but just to work with. For me, with spelt, it's easiest to work with 75. And then I'm mixing it all together first with a spoon, and then later I will use my hands. You can see the dough turns out quite sticky and it doesn't look like it's nice, but you just need to let it rest for some time and it will start looking really nice. So a lot of things with sourdough is just giving the flour its time to absorb the water, to develop the gluten. Now that I'm talking about gluten, the gluten structure in spelt is less strong. And it's also much less gluten than in wheat, because wheat has been produced to develop as much gluten as possible to work with it very easily. Here I'm adding my salt and my sourdough starter. The sourdough starter I do by feeling, the salt at this point as well. But yeah, it's roughly the measurements that I showed up on the screen. I always leave a little bit in the starter jar and then I add more flour and water to it to feed it again, but I will get back into this in another video. Because of the fact that it's less gluten and less strong, it's much easier to digest, especially if you do a long fermentation. The gluten does not bother your gut lining as much as the gluten of spelt does. However, it still is gluten, so if you're very sensitive to it, it's probably still not good to eat this, but for me it's okay. And yeah, this also makes it a bit harder to work with as a dough, because yeah, that gluten is what makes wheat so easily turned into like pizza dough and really sour bread, because this glue, it doesn't matter how big it gets, it will still stick together. While for spelt, it will easier become more of a flat bread. It doesn't get as high, as big, because it doesn't have the structure to support it. That's why you need to add a lot of stretch and folds, which is what I'm doing here. I'm doing 3 to 4, like 30 to 60 minutes apart, which really builds a nice structure in the dough. But yeah, for spelt you need to work much more with the dough to be able to create a nice structure. There you can see the bubbles are forming, so the sourdough starter is doing its thing. It's fermenting, it's rising. You can't see the rising that much yet, but it's definitely doing something in the dough. And here you can see the dough ferments even more. It gets quite wide, and yeah, I'm stretching and folding it again. And then I decided to add some seeds in this one. You don't have to. It doesn't change the dough structure so much. I would say it changes it a little bit. Yeah. But overall it mostly adds really nice flavor and crunch, and I just love seeds in my bread. And those are just the seeds I have at home. You can add different ones, other ones you can add just one type. And yeah, I really like the difference in size and the difference in flavor. And then what I did this time, I folded it in shape there in the evening before going to bed, and I added it right away into the baking form that I used for baking it the next day. For me that works the best. For me, working in a baking form works better than working it just open. And yeah, there I put it into the fridge overnight. I put a towel on top so it doesn't get too dry. And yeah, then you can see the next morning I open it up and I let it come to room temperature for around an hour or two. And then I preheated the oven and I put it in at 220 degrees for around 20 minutes with some water that I add in. So it has humidity, and then afterwards I leave it for another half an hour to 40 minutes, 50 minutes, depending on how long it needs, without the water. And there I put the oven down on 180 degrees. And here you can see the bread turned out beautiful. It's so pretty. I was very happy with this one. And it has a really nice crunch on the outside. And the best thing is to not cut the bread right away. I usually make two and then I cut one right away and eat it, because it's just really nice to eat warm bread out of the oven. And the other one I leave and let it cool down. But yeah, you can see it's steamy and soft and really beautiful inside. It had a really nice flavor, this one. I mean, they all do, but this one was really exceptional. You can see the nice fermentation that took place inside, really nice bubbles. So, and I hope you liked that recipe and you want to try it out. I will continue with a series on bread, sourdough. I will show you how to make a starter and what kind of things to look out for and so on and so forth. So you will see more bread videos coming up. And yeah, I hope you enjoy, and bye bye!